Hi everybody, my name is Branden Williams, and today I'm going to talk to you about upgrading your authentication game. I made this video about 3 years ago, and I wanted to make an updated version of it because we've had some new technology, and just to show those demos as well. So if you're interested in just skipping right to the demos, in the description below, I'll mark the time codes of the demo, so if you want to go ahead and do that, feel free. But I do have just a quick presentation that sort of goes over some of the basics around authentication and why this is important. Promise it won't take you too long, and we'll walk through it right now. Okay, so first, passwords suck, and humans are terrible databases. Remembering dozens of good passwords is impossible. But I want you to think about the password that you use, maybe to log into your machine or log in at work, and see if I can guess some of the complexity and how it might be set up. We used to play this game in corporate America. It probably starts with a capital letter, so you can get your capitalization and lowercase requirements. And that word might be a proper noun. It could be a family member's name, a nickname, a pet, or a place that you like. And if you have to rotate that password on a periodic basis to get your numeric requirement, you're going to add 4 digits, and it's likely the month and year when you last rotated it, because we can generally remember that. So 0524 for May of 2004 when I'm recording this video. And then what do you add at the end? Well, everybody adds the exclamation point, so you can get the special characters, right? So it's brilliant password construction. But this is why passwords suck, is because we're trying to create this algorithm so that we can remember what that password is, especially if we have to change it on a regular basis. And that's the reason why you want to use a password manager. At this point, most operating systems or browsers will do this natively. You can use some third-party tools as well, but the goal is to have a different username and password combination on every website. That way you don't have to memorize hundreds of combinations. They'll all be in your password manager. Password managers are great because they tend to synchronize across platforms, and many of them include some level of MFA support, which we'll talk about. And don't forget that length of your password beats complexity every day of the week. So when you have to use a password to unlock something, make sure you're using a sufficiently long one. I'm reminded of one of my favorite comics, XKCD. You can go to xkcd.com. This is comic number 936. And it kind of goes through the humor of creating a secure password. But if you'll notice in the bottom left, the panel says correct horse battery staple, 4 random words. And you could connect those with, hashes or dollar signs or something to get a special character complexity requirement, or you may be able to use spaces or just run them all together. But the point is that is a much, much more secure password than the one in the panel directly above it. And it's easier to remember. So go check out that comic if you think this is funny. It's lots of great stuff over there. And this is why multi-factor authentication is so important. But wait, Branden, isn't that what SMS is for? In the links in the description for this video, I'll include a few references for you of things that you might want to deep dive into. But SMS is a feature of the SS7 signaling protocol, which was introduced in 1975. So yes, we're coming up on a 50-year-old protocol that we are using to power SMS-based messages. It was designed to do a lot of different things, call connecting and routing calls between different providers, but one of them was sending short digital messages. So today, with some affordable equipment, it's trivial with knowledge to intercept SMS and voice calls. And there are plenty of links to that. I'll include some in the description, but there are links to examples of this. All that said, the low-tech version is bribing an employee that works at a phone kiosk in a mall, someone who has access to the systems to actually make SIMs and swap numbers out, and have your number swapped to a different SIM. The attacker will swap it onto their own SIM. And so that means that you're at home, if you're on Wi-Fi, you may not notice a difference. So all of a sudden you may not be receiving calls, and it'll say SOS at the top of your phone. But that person now has all of your phone calls and SMS texts routed to this new SIM card, which could include things like, a text that you get as part of an authentication process for a site. And so that's why SMS, some people say is better than nothing. I would argue it's just not really a great technology to use for this, and we should move on. And SIM swaps do result in hacked accounts and real money lost. And again, you can look in the description for some examples of that. So what we want to do is we want to enable real two-factor authentication for your critical personal accounts. We're going to start with time-based one-time passwords, or TOTP. Google Authenticator is the app that most of us think about when we think about TOTP because it's the OG app that does it. It's freely available on the app stores of your choosing, right? There are others that do it, though. It's just an algorithm. Once you implement the algorithm, you can do the exact same time-based OTP that works with Google Authenticator. So you'll download your app of choice from your respective app store. You open it, log into your accounts, enable that two-step, two-factor choose app or authentication app or something like that. You may even say Google Authenticator. Scan the QR code and then enter the 6-digit code on the next screen. If you can't scan the QR code, there's usually like a button that says I can't scan this or it's not scanning, and there'll be a string of characters that pops up. They're all capitals. You copy and paste that into the field and that will automatically do the same thing that the QR code does. It's exactly what's in the QR code. It's just a shortcut. So some password managers, such as 1Password, have this feature built in. So you don't necessarily need to have a separate app if you don't want to. It does increase flexibility because now this is going to sync across multiple platforms, but it can also increase attack surface. For me personally, I think it's acceptable risk, so I do include some of those in there if I'm going to use a software-based solution. For the accounts where I do not want to do that and I'm reverting to hardware keys, then that's my separation there. The hardware key is not synchronized inside of the 1Password database, but it's something that I have to physically keep track of and use. Okay, so we've talked about TOTP. Let's talk about Universal Second Factor, or U2F. This is a stronger way to do a second factor of authentication, and you have a lot of different options. One of them is hardware keys, such as Yubikeys, and you see one right there. There's a one-to-one relationship between the key itself and the website, and the math, the crypto math, all has to work for that authentication to go through. If you decide to do a hardware key, you need to purchase at least 2 keys. Why? Because if you lose one, you still want to be able to get into your account. It doesn't have to be a Yubikey. I don't have any, they're not paying for this video, they're not sponsoring this video, but I do have a ton of them and I think they're a great option. There are other hardware keys that are available. I just prefer the Yubikeys because I've used them for so long. But when you do this, you're going to see an option, something similar to like, the Authenticator app. When you go in, you're going to say security key. And so you'll click add security key or equivalent. In the security settings of your web account, follow the instructions on the screen, which is generally to tap your key. If you have set up your Yubikey with a PIN, it may ask you to enter your PIN and tap it again. And then it'll add it to your authenticators in your list. Now take your backup and do the same thing. So if you have just 2 keys, you're going to go through this process twice. If you have 3 or 4, depending if you wanted to put one at a friend's house or you wanted to carry one with you when you travel, then for each key that you want to have access to that account, you need to go through this enrollment process. And you want to label them in a way where you understand what that key is. So if you do lose a key and you have to go back through your accounts and remove that key from there, you know which one you're going to remove. Once you've completed that enrollment, you're going to be presented with a list of recovery codes. You want to save those codes. You can either print them out and put them in a safe place. You can save them in your password manager under the notes field, but whatever you do, that is your way to get back in. That's one of your break glass methods. We're going to talk about some others, but that's the one that's pretty common across all of the enrollment sites that I've seen. Save those codes. Now, the reason why I'm remaking this video is because of this page right here, which is Passkeys. This is a newer technology that was around when we were doing the original video, but it was not widely implemented like it is today. Passkeys are easier, they're mobile, they do have some quirks. They're software-based. They have a couple of quirks just to understand. So one of them is they can be device-bound, meaning they will only live on one phone or laptop and you cannot move them. So just think about that as like, how do I want to secure my accounts with the passkey? Do I want it to be bound specifically to my phone and nothing else? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. The next one is they can live in a password manager. It could be OS-based or third-party. And it can sync across devices. So Apple started doing this. You log into a website on your mobile device, and it will say at the bottom, would you like to add a passkey or sign in with a passkey? And that is tied to your iCloud account. So all of the devices signed in will be able to use that specific passkey. They are often used in passwordless flows as well to completely remove the username and password, which is kind of a cool way to add a lot of security to your account and do it in a way where I don't necessarily have to remember usernames and passwords anymore. So it's good for everybody all the way around. As I mentioned before, sites now are starting to prompt for passkeys, and password managers like 1Password will tell you, hey, you have this 3 accounts right here that don't have a passkey assigned to them, and the site supports passkeys. So you should go sign up and put a passkey in there. So super helpful to know. It does it for OTP as well. The enrollment process can be a little clunky, but it generally works like this. You'll click create passkey or add security key like we did for the Yubikeys. It can be in the same process. In the security settings of your web account, you choose where you want your passkey stored, and you click save, get your recovery codes. That's all you got to do. Now, there are some other methods as well. Google, Microsoft, LinkedIn have push notification functions that you can use. Depending on which bank you use, you may see push notifications there as well when you're trying to log in, say, on a computer, and it'll push a notification to your phone saying, is this you trying to log in? Basically, it's just kind of saying, confirming that you're there, and yes, you're trying to do that. In the case of Microsoft, theirs is a little bit different, and it's similar to when I worked at Ping Identity. We had an enhancement we released to the Ping ID app where there's a number matching feature or a code matching feature. So you log into the website, it's going to tell you, here are the 4 letters or digits that I want you to match on your app. And then when your app pops up, it'll give you, 3, 4, 5 options, and you have to choose the correct one. And that's really just to prevent MFA bombing attacks, or just to help you connect with, I did this action over here, and it's requiring me to authenticate, just in case there's a problem down the road. So there are different ways to do it, but those are generally all pretty good when it comes to push notifications. Some services offer different things, like Facebook's app inside has a code generator that's built into the app. So there are options there as well. Just keep in mind that the whole point is that you're getting some out-of-band additional authentication that's stronger than an SMS, a username, password, or a challenge question. Also, don't forget to remove or disable SMS as an option. For websites like Google and Dropbox, you can absolutely do that. Just understand they're going to give you all these warnings that say, hey, this is kind of our fallback for account recovery. If you remove it, then we can't use your phone. We don't know what your phone number is to try to do account recovery. And that's why it's really important to have multiple recovery options. So what are those recovery options? One of the things that I like to tell people is that your account is only as secure as your recovery procedure. The longest passwords or the massive number of Yubikeys don't matter if all I have to do to recover your account is get a code sent to an email address that maybe I control, right? So the common ones that we have today are knowledge-based authentication. This is the one where it'll pop up 3 questions. Which address have you been associated with in the past 10 years? What do we think about those? Are generally bad. The worst ones that are possible. The next one is one-time password sent to the email on file. Also not great, because if I've compromised your email, and just think about all the stuff that you put in email. If you've compromised that email, that could be a really bad scenario. So it's bad to have one-time password sent to emails. A one-time password sent to the cell phone on file, again, bad, because we've talked about SIM swaps and other things like that. We don't want somebody to be able to control that message and reset your account. So the next one on the list is challenge questions, and I have a controversial take on there because I think challenge questions actually can be pretty good when they're done in the method that I'm going to explain to you. Challenge questions oftentimes are used like knowledge-based authentication, where you have to select from a list of questions, and one of them might be, what was the mascot of your high school? Well, instead of putting the mascot name in, you would want to put something completely random in there, and then take that challenge response and put it in your password manager notes field. So as an example, the mascot of your high school, I love tamales. Make it caps, make it not. That may not matter, but I love tamales is definitely not a mascot of any high school that I've heard of before. So if someone's trying to go into your background and looks at your LinkedIn and figures out where you grew up, they're not going to be able to pop in that mascot and recover your account. So questionable in the case that it's all dependent on how you implement. The next one is account recovery codes. So this is a good way to do this. We talked about this. So this is when you enroll in a multi-factor authentication, you're going to get a list of codes. You want to put those in your password manager or a safe place that is physically printed out and put them in a safe place. Those are good because they're one-time use and they're unique for you. And the last one is second strong authenticator, which is the excellent way to do this. Like, this is why we add 2 hardware keys to an account, because if I lose one, I don't have to go through any of those other bad recovery procedures. I can just use my second token, get in, and then enroll would then be my third token after I remove the first one that I've lost. So in the real world, how this works is when an account gets compromised, your attacker is going to look to understand how it's tied to other accounts. So if your email gets compromised, can I get your bank to reset your banking password by sending a code to your email or a link to your email? Just think about the number of websites that you may have logged into and you have to go through the forgot password procedure, and it just goes to the email that you had on file with a link and just say, here, put in your new password. So basically all they're doing is making sure they're sending it to the email that they have on file, but they're not verifying that you actually control that email address at the time that they're sending that code. So a little bit questionable, right? Now, what about Facebook or Google? Does me logging in here also give me access to Facebook and Google because I've used the same password, or I can also use that same password recovery procedure? Now you start to see where this is going and why it's so lucrative for one account. If I can, especially an email account, if I can compromise that I can start to get other sites that you may be affiliated with and take over more accounts. So the last word before the demo, back up your stuff, right? So what happens if you lose your key or your phone? You need another way to get into your account. And make sure it's not just using a cell phone SMS, like you want to do something better than that. If you get a new phone, don't forget to transfer those apps or keys to the new phone. Today, you may not have that much of a problem as you did back in the day, but if you're using a specific authenticator app, you need to make sure that you transfer from the old to the new. We used to have this at work in my last job where somebody would get a new phone on a Friday, they'd move all their stuff on their new phone Friday night, erase their phone Saturday, show up Monday and realize that their authenticator app, they didn't move it over. And so they were locked out until they could get it reset up again. Every site's going to have backup codes. Generate and print them. Don't skip this step. Put them somewhere safe and secure. They are your break glass option in case you lose or damage your phone or authenticator. Your account is only as secure as the recovery process. And then also just be aware of how you connect those accounts to other websites. It's certainly easy to use Facebook and Google to log into other websites, but if your Facebook or Google account gets compromised, then any site that those are used to log in with now are compromised as well, because the attacker will have access to those. So when I sign up to a new site, I always use an email password combination. I let my password manager generate that password, and then I look for two-factor authentication methods like Passkeys or Yubikeys or one-time password to beef up the security. And there's no other way that I could remember all those. I've got over 1,600 in my password database. So just understand that that's the best way to do this so that you are not creating an attack surface that's larger by having one specific identity provider like Facebook or Google doing all the work for you. Okay, now we're going to go into the demo. Okay, so we want to do some demos, and I have my demo Google account here that we're going to set up all this stuff. Now, I've removed all of the previously set up multi-factor components, so there may be a couple of quirks that you see as far as when we get to the security screen, but ultimately it's going to look very similar to what you are looking to do. And just as a way to demo this, when I have my 1Password window up over here on the side, you can see that it's telling me that passkeys are available. So this is a feature that 1Password has. And you will see some stuff grayed out as I'm going through this, but that's only because there's things that aren't relevant to the demo and I just don't want to confuse you. So we're going to start by logging into our account. And so right away what you can see is that it's saying, hey, you should use passkeys. Let's go ahead and sign up and use passkeys to do this. So I want to add this second factor in. We're going to hit continue. Okay, and as you can see, I've grayed out a couple of items, but we're going to go ahead and save this into the account that's associated with this, which is right here. And I just selected it, say update existing, and hit save. And now that passkey is created. So if I go to continue, I'm going to go into security, and we're going to see, hey, I've got a passkey. Two-step verification is off though. So what's going to happen now is that it's going to try to use my passkey to sign in because I've said skip password when possible. And so this is a great option, but we still want to add two-step verification. So we're going to turn this on. Now, one of the quirks of turning on two-step authentication is that it wants to start with your cell phone number. So I'm going to go ahead and enter my cell phone number, but we're only going to put it in there temporarily, and I'm going to remove it at the end. So this is just to get things set up. So I'll hit next. It's going to send me a code. Get that code. And verify. Okay. So now it has my number listed in here, but I don't want that to be my way to do two-factor authentication. So we're going to add a security key. Now, if you notice, I already have a passkey that's in here. This is the one we just created. We're going to do something different. So it brings up that same menu that it brought up before, but we're going to say use security key or another passkey. This is the 1Password thing getting in the middle of things, and that's okay, but we just want to do something different. So we're going to click on this. I have a security key that's present in my system, so I'm going to go ahead and enter the PIN for it, hit next, and then I'm going to tap it and allow this site to see, hit allow. Great. Now I have this passkey added. I'm going to go ahead and rename this key just so I know. This is the demo one. Oh, it's not a passkey. Demo one Yubikey. There we go. Okay. Now, you notice that we're in this passkey and security keys, and it does say create a passkey. So again, your mileage may vary just depending on what site that you're using, but this is what the experience looks like in Google. Okay, so remember we talked about hardware keys, that we want to have multiple hardware keys in there. So we're going to go ahead and add a second one. I have a second one plugged in. I'm going to go ahead and create passkey. I'm going to say use another device. And I'm going to click this little button to go to here. And then I have my Yubikey plugged in, so I'm just going to tap it. And it's going to say pin required. Hit enter, tap it again, allow, and we're done. We'll name this one Demo Yubikey 2. Okay, so both of those Yubikeys are in there. Now I do want to say that if you have not set your Yubikey up to have a pin, then you won't get that pop-up asking for a pin. It's simply just going to ask you to tap it or activate it, and it'll go in. So don't worry if you bought a new Yubikey and you've not set it up, you've chosen not to set it up with a pin and you don't see that, that's okay. It's just the way the functionality is. I chose to set up a pin. You can go to the website of your key creator to find a tool that will let you do that. Mine has a specific tool. It's a piece of software you have to run, but that's what we did. So it's up and running. Okay. So now we're back on the security screen for our account. We still have a few things that we need to do. So one of the things we need to do is we need to remove our phone number from the account. So I'm going to scroll down just a bit. It's going to be at the very bottom of your screen. You're not going to see it because my phone number is going to be displayed. But I'm just going to scroll down. I'm going to hit the button. I'm going to delete it, remove. There we go. Now our phone number is gone. So looking at our options, we have password. We have a Google prompt because I was already logged in on another phone. We have a recovery phone and recovery email are both blank, and that's what we want. Now here are the other things that we need to do, right? We talked about generating backup codes as being a very important step. So let's go ahead and generate backup codes. Get backup codes. And I'm going to just copy these. Like you can download them, you can print them, but we're just going to do this. Bring one password over. And I'm going to go to my notes section and say recovery codes. And just paste them in. And there we go. Now you see it's all one line. This is one code. It's on this line. The next code is on the next line. So we have it all set up here. Now the other thing I want to call your attention to is the two-factor authentication for QR code and time-based OTP is prompting here and saying, hey, you can set this up. So why don't we go ahead and set that up now that we have our recovery codes. Okay, so we're back on our security screen. We need to set up a one-time password. So go down to Authenticator. This is the option that we're going to use. It's going to say, let's set up your Authenticator app. Click the button to set up Authenticator. Now here's that QR code we were talking about. If this is the point in which you would bring up your mobile phone, if you were doing an app on your phone specifically, go into that Authenticator app, set add new, and then you would use the camera to scan this QR code. If for some reason it's not working, that's what the can't scan it button is. There's going to be a list of characters that comes out afterwards that you would then put that into the app. But usually the QR code works. And for us, the QR code works. So I'm going to go ahead and bring my 1Password window back to the front. It's already going to help me with the scan QR code button. I hit that, boom, we're in. There's our code. I'm going to copy it, go next, paste my code in, verify, and there we are. Now we've added our Authenticator app. Okay, we're back at our security screen for our Google account. Let's scroll down and see what we have. So far, we've turned on two-step verification, which is great. We have passkeys and security keys. We have the one passkey that we've stored in 1Password, and we have two hardware keys that we have used as well. The password's already been there, we talked about. We're going to skip the password when possible, and what that means is that Google is going to try to use a passwordless flow with passkeys or something else to get you to log in, as opposed to asking for your password. It'll say, click your username, and it'll say, just do your passkey. We have our authenticator that we've added in. The Google prompt, so again, this is here because I'd signed into a couple devices already on this account. If you have not done that on your account, you should download the Google app or download Gmail or whatever, put that app on your phone and sign in, and that will count as one of your sort of backup ways to get in because it's bound to your device. So it's a good way to have a backup. You'll notice that we do not have a recovery phone. We do not have a recovery email. That's on purpose. And then we have our backup codes, which we popped in there. Okay, so let's test this. Let's see what this looks like now that we've set up all this extra security on our account. We're going to log out so that we get a fresh look at this. Now we're going to choose the account. This is the one account I want to log into, so we're going to sign in. And right away, it's going to say, do you want to sign in with your passkey? Absolutely, I want to sign in with my passkey. And we're in. Because the passkey is considered strong, you're not going to get a second prompt on top of that. The passkey is a password replacement. Let's sign out again. Let's go in here. And let's try another way. Let's say, no, we don't have access to our passkey right now for whatever reason. We're going to start with our password. Okay, well, here's our password. Next. And now it's going to say, what do you want to do for two-step authentication? Do you want to use your passkey? Well, we could have used that in the first case, but that's okay. Do we want to get a code from Google Authenticator app? Do we want to enter one of our backup codes? Let's just go ahead and do this one for the sake of showing the demo. 1Password is really great about this. It's just going to pop up and say, do you want to put your code in? Put your code in. Don't ask on this device again. Next. And we're in. So there you have it. I think it's really important that you take the time to look at other accounts as well that are important to you, whether it's social media accounts like Facebook and Instagram, or work accounts like LinkedIn, or even if you have options with your bank or things like file sharing and Dropbox, look and see what options that they have so that you can add in extra security using the methods that we've shown you today. So with that, if you have questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below. Otherwise, y'all stay safe out there.